good morning. We have the opportunity now to talk to Petra Laederach from the CIAT Nicaragua, who was presenting yesterday at the climate change session in the afternoon at the Tropentag 2013. And I would like to ask you were presenting your studies, and you mentioned that climate smart practices, like for example, or especially afforestation of degraded areas with coffee agroforestry systems and also boundary tree plantings, show to have the strongest synergy potential with climate mitigation, right? What do you think, which are the challenges for the implementation of these practices on a broader scale, and how could these challenges be overcome?
Okay. Yeah, what we've seen in this particular study that we conducted in Nicaragua with coffee farmer is that exactly afforestation, reforestation, and we're promising practices, but obviously the financing is always a problem. So that's why we're promoting or suggesting to use the carbon vehicle, that basically the supply chain pays the farmers to capture carbon. So that's how they can be supported to plant those trees, because somebody has to plant the trees. There's buy the trees, and there's labor involved. So through the carbon vehicle, let's say, so if the private sector pays farmers to sequester carbon, so that could help them to plant those trees and maintain them. And so basically it's adaptation through mitigation. So the adaptation is paid through mitigation, which is called carbon insetting, when companies help the supply chain to adapt and help farmers to sequester the carbon and at the same time adapt to climate change.
Do you think companies, other coffee producer companies, there are greater potentials for sure to have this strategy to enlarge, not only to do carbon offsetting but also insetting? Do you think it's possible or
so what we see, there's a couple companies, large companies in the US and also in Europe. So they balance their carbon, so they're carbon neutral, but what they do is they invest in carbon offsetting. So what they do, they pay other companies to put up windmills or renew other renewable energy projects. So that's called carbon offsetting, but the farmers, they don't have any benefit of that. So that's why we think carbon insetting is much better, because they would then pay the farmer to sequester carbon, so to put trees, which would then also help to adapt to climate change. A good example is if you put shade trees on top of coffee systems. So the shade tree, so you basically capture carbon, and the temperature is going down. If you have a tree on top of your coffee system, so the average temperature goes down by 2 to 3 degrees, so you basically compensate for climate change. And if you put timber or fruit trees, so you would also have the livelihood benefit. So this is the climate smart agriculture practices: mitigation, adaptation, and livelihood benefits. So that's what we're trying to promote, and some companies, they're quite interested in those schemes.
And you said you presented also there is this cool farm tool, and with that one you can calculate the greenhouse emissions.
Yes.
So do you see any potentials for this, that it can be friendly enough for farmers themselves to use this, and do you see potentials for that?
Yeah, the Cool Farm tool has been developed by the Sustainable Food Lab, which is a platform for sustainable agriculture. So they basically bring together farmers, large companies, really large companies like Cisco, like huge supply chains, and research and NGOs. So they developed the tools as a discussion tool, so for all those stakeholders to learn and then eventually to decrease their emissions. So there's plenty of farmers. I mean, so far many large farmers and not like smallholder farmers, but it's also being translated into Spanish, so it could eventually be used in Latin America also for people to learn about their carbon stock and carbon footprint, and how to optimize their agricultural systems.
Well, thank you. We think this is a very good example of how practically oriented research can look like for rural development, and we hope that the over 4 million smallholder farmers around the world can benefit from this. Thank you.
Thank you.